well, helping and emotional several days in Portland and across the country, and we understand why. Yesterday's event started peacefully, and there was a very organic moment with some of our sergeants and some demonstrators who took a knee together next to the Justice Center. I'm very proud of this moment as it reflects community and understanding. We had two very large groups who gathered last night in the city, one downtown and one near Laurelhurst Park. There were times throughout the day and the evening where we saw solidarity and peaceful gatherings, demonstrations, which is what we support. At some point, we had over approximately 6,000 demonstrators. Unfortunately, there were others who were intent on violence and destruction directed towards police and targeted buildings, including the federal courthouse, the Pioneer Courthouse Square, the Justice Center, and the Multnomah County Courthouse. I heard the crowd's request to meet with me, and I asked for our liaison teams to locate some representatives to have a meeting. I had the opportunity to meet with several demonstrator leaders and heard what they had to say. I heard the leaders say that they want the police to meet with the community leaders, and they do not feel that they are represented by the community leaders PPB meets with regularly. We agreed that the majority of demonstrators and the police wanted a peaceful protest, and we are frustrated by those who are engaging in violence and destruction because it is not helpful at all in changing our efforts. We discussed the desire to meet again, and we discussed new ways that we can engage with them and they can engage with us. This was a very productive meeting, and I am very thankful. The leaders were respectful, they were thoughtful, they had good ideas, and I am hopeful that we can meet again to discuss further, and I am very appreciative of their willingness to meet with me. While we were having this productive conversation, the situation outside of the Justice Center turned very dangerous. Officers were taking projectiles for approximately 5 minutes, and our sound truck was giving the direction to disperse or force would be used. Officers responded with riot control agents to disperse the crowd, and some members of the crowd threw very large fireworks at the officers, which detonated very near to them. Officers responded with gas to disperse the crowd, which was effective in moving the crowd away from the Justice Center and dispersing the group into smaller groups. We know that Portland is not the only city in the nation experiencing these types of events. We would like very much to move forward with the change that everyone wants, but we are unable to do so when we are faced with violence and destruction in our city. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it up to questions here in just a moment. Let me just get the system set up here so we can do that.
And remind them there's a little delay from that.
Okay, yeah, and just remember that there's just a couple second delay, so
Is there someone with a question for the chief?
Yeah, this is Jen Dowling from Coin 6. Can you guys hear me?
yes.
Oh, that before, thank you. So go ahead and tell me a little bit about what was different tonight compared to the other nights of protest.
So tonight obviously was probably the larger of groups that we've had. Like I mentioned, the majority of the folks, especially from the Laurelhurst neighborhoods that marched down, were very peaceful. Again, I think that large crowd gave more opportunity for people who wanted to come down and engage in destructive behavior. The larger the crowd size, sometimes the harder it is for us to identify those people. So that was probably one of the biggest difference from tonight. But again, I want to stress that the majority of the people who are coming down here are doing so peacefully, which is something that we 100% support. But we are going to need to come together to say that we are not supportive of anybody who wants to come down to our city and engage in violence. And that we have to do together.
Have you seen a lot of out-of-town protesters come in? It was mentioned to me that there were a lot of arrests at one point from people from Beaverton and Vancouver. Is that something that you had noted yourself?
No, I don't know. I know that we only made 4 arrests this evening. We made about 51, I believe, yesterday. I do not know. I know that there was a mix of people from Portland and from out of Portland, but I don't know percentages.
Okay. Were any officers injured today?
Not that I'm aware of today.
Were any injured at all in the protests that we had?
Yes, we've had several officers injured. Thankfully, nothing too serious, but we've had officers with incendiary devices go off near them, causing damage. We've had officers hit with rocks, bottles, different types of cans, causing bruising and cuts.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about the arrests that were made? Like what activities people were doing, what you saw the most of as far as arrests?
So I think for this evening, we had a curfew, criminal mischief, riot. I believe one person was also charged with an attempted assault on a peace officer.
Okay.
And just so you know, we are working on our updated press release, and we'll provide those details when we have them.
Gotcha. Did you have extra help from different agencies tonight, this whole day and into the morning? Did you have help from outside agencies, and if so, who did you have out with you?
Yes, absolutely, we did. So again, we had help from OSP. Early in the evening, I reached out to both Washington County and Clackamas County for them to come assist. Washington County and Clackamas County came to assist to take calls for service, so not related to the protest. They took the other calls for service so that I could free up Portland officers to come down to the event and assist. We've also had assistance from Gresham. We've had assistance from the port. Obviously, we were partnered again with the Fire Bureau this evening. Trying to think if I'm missing anybody. I think for this evening, that was about it.
Now, I noticed that for Saturday and today, when things started to get heated and there was a crackdown, that officers looked like they were breaking people into small groups as part of a strategy to try to clear out the streets under this curfew. So is that part of the strategy? Can you tell me a little bit about that, on how you might have approached this particular evening, or even Saturday? It looks similar to Saturday.
Right, so the goal is to get folks to disperse. So that's why we start with the sound truck, giving the statements of what we want the crowd to do. And then we try to get them to disperse into as smaller groups as possible. So you've seen that tactic used yesterday and today.
Okay. Let's see. Did you have any fires
Real quick,
that you guys are dealing with tonight? I don't know if you have anything on that.
I'd like to just real quick offer the opportunity for any other reporters who might be on the line. Just please.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's not a one-on-one, but
Yeah.
you're asking great questions, but I just want to be a little fair.
Yes, go ahead.
Apologies.
Okay.
Chief,
Yes.
this is Chris Passon from Fox 12. I'm not sure if you witnessed the scene outside the Justice Center where they passed the megaphone between the protesters and some officers over a chain link fence. The two had a dialogue where they spoke with each other, and your officers sent a message to those protesters, and they talked directly with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about the importance of moments like that and what that means?
I think those are the moments that the majority of the folks that come down and the police bureau are looking for. Those are the moments that are allowing us to heal. Those are the moments that are allowing us to build relationships. Those are the moments that are going to allow us to move forward. And the few that are coming down to just cause destruction, that's what's causing the issues that we're seeing. Those are the moments that are going to allow us to come together as a community.
Is there another question for the chief?
Hi, yes, this is Allison Rogers with KGW. I was wondering how you decide with such a large crowd who you arrest, if you're targeting people that you see doing damage, or if it's a matter of the people that are still lingering after most of the crowd is left.
Correct. So obviously, we try to identify the folks that are engaging in criminal activity. And then we have to look at what resources we have available and how tactically we can arrest them and how successful we can be. So sometimes you may see where officers have to make an arrest right away. Other times it's better for us to wait. So there's quite the process that goes into deciding when and how we take someone into custody. So each situation is a little bit different.
Is there another question?
Chief, are you aware of any instances of looting tonight. We saw some windows broken out in the luggage store.
Yeah.
It looked like it had been cleared out.
I do know that there has been some additional vandalism. I was made aware of windows being broken. I'm not aware if stuff had been taken out of those stores, but we can follow up on that. I do know that there was additional vandalism, for sure.
Chief, this is Maxine Bernstein from the Oregonian.
Yeah.
Wanted to ask just the larger picture, step back, how you decide what the approach is going to be from night to night. The first night, obviously, there was lots of vandalism throughout downtown, and there was a change, it seemed, in the strategy the second night. So what goes into the approach police are taking from night to night? And also, if you could talk a little bit more about what the communication was with the organizers tonight.
Yeah, so I think the difference between the first and second night obviously was the first night we were not anticipating the events that occurred, and especially at the scale that they occurred. So by the second night, we were able to prepare for a much larger event, and then again tonight we prepared the same way. So that's where you'll kind of see the main difference in our preparation. Basically, every event, our goal is life safety and protection of property. So that's what we're going for each and every time. And what we do is we have to be flexible enough to change our tactics depending on how the crowd reacts. So we plan the same, but we also plan for basically every contingency that we could think of so that we're able to adapt depending on what is brought to us. As far as, sorry, Max, I forgot the second part of your question.
If you could describe, what you shared with the organizers tonight and what they told you.
Right, okay, so obviously our liaison teams met with several of the organizers that started in the Laurelhurst area. They went, had a conversation with them. They were told that they wanted to march. We said that we would like to help facilitate that to make sure that everyone was safe. And our liaison teams worked with them to make sure that we could get them through the city in a manner that was at least as least disruptful as for everybody as possible, and that they were able to get downtown safely.
And then who did you speak with this evening?
Oh, I spoke
Later.
So I spoke with 3 different community members who had at one point or another spoken to our liaison teams during the evening. So when the request was made to meet with me, I asked our liaison teams if they would reach out. They reached out to the community, and the community chose those 3 people to come meet with me.
And what was shared? What did you share with them? What did they share with you?
I was just very appreciative that they were able to take the time, that they were trusting enough to come into the police precinct and meet with me, and they were very thankful that I took the time as well. They had some very good ideas on how the police could engage in different ways that we haven't before. They have some different ideas on what the community is to them, some different people that I should be meeting with. That they feel that they can be helpful in creating those relationships. It was a very good conversation, but as I mentioned in my opening remarks, it was cut a bit short by the actions of people who began throwing the incendiary devices at the officers. And so what we agreed to is that we agreed to meet again. And so hopefully that will take place very soon.
So I think we've got time maybe for one last question. I've got to get the chief to get some rest so that she's fresh for tomorrow too. I know you guys are probably pretty tired as well.
Chief, have you had any discussions with the mayor's office about potentially another night of curfew tomorrow night?
I have not yet, but I'm sure we'll be having those discussions in the morning. And yeah, just about everything that we're going to do tomorrow. So I know that there's an 8 a.m. press conference, I believe, so we'll probably be having those discussions fairly early.
Do you have an opinion on whether you think there should be one?
I do believe that there should be one again. I think it's a useful tool for the police bureau. I'm thankful for the mayor and for Commissioner Hardesty's willingness to give us the tools that we need to try to keep everybody safe. So it would probably be an ask that I would make again.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We are going to need to let the chief get some rest, but Deputy Chief Davis is going to be at the press event in the morning. We need our chiefs to also get some rest and rotate, much like the rest of us. So we appreciate, again, you all taking the time at 2 a.m. To get on the phone with us, and we'll be in touch again probably in the coming days. Thank you all.
Thank you.